I'm going to reveal some pretty interesting secrets in today's video, guys, and you will going to see some charts which you might already have seen, but you for sure will not recognize, because I've edited those charts to make some stuff more clear. And I can already tell you right now, this shit is mind blowing. We are seeing a lot of bearish news from China, guys. Country Garden, apparently a very big real estate company, is having huge debts, and it's at the edge of a bankruptcy. Same like Evergrande. We have already seen Evergrande going bankrupt, like extremely right. And this is the other chart. This is from Country Garden. Already, going down since 2018, but right now you can see we are really diving deep. So this is actually a big thing. Why? Because China right now is at the edge of a massive crisis. A lot of people, they won't get their home that they actually paid for due to the potential bankruptcy of these companies. So that could start a huge domino effect with a lot of problems in China, right? The housing market collapse in China, which will bring down the stock market, which is bringing down the yuan, the Chinese national currency, but also bringing down the actually hiring the unemployment rate. The unemployment rate is even so high that they actually China stopped releasing the unemployment data because it just hit new highs all the time, so they just stopped releasing it. So it's actually quite bad. And the crazy thing is, guys, and I've talked about this with my cousin on the phone, like in China they had like this crazy policy that you're only allowed to have like one kid or something. So you can see also that the population of China is actually, for the first time since a very long time, actually for the first time in maybe even these are decades, of course, but maybe even a couple of 100 years, that it is decreasing. As you can see, the yearly growth rate in 2023 was minus 0.02%. So that's also kind of crazy. So we have like an economy that is slowing down, with a housing market that can crash, with the yuan coming down. But we also get the population reaching like the top of the curve, and also right now declining, at least most likely for the coming years. That would make the most sense if you ask me, because of the policy that they didn't want too much kids in China, because Xi Jinping, he thought like when we have too much people, the food storages and stuff like that won't be enough. So that's why he said, okay, you only can have one kid. But yeah, right now China is looking very unstable, and I want to talk a little bit about that, because this can of course have an effect on the rest of the world too. If the housing market of China collapses, then most likely we are going to see that effect worldwide. We are also going to see that effect in the regular financial markets, as a lot of money in the regular financial markets is in China. That is important to understand. So I think, and that is also very visible when we have a look at Bitcoin and at the regular financial markets, we are definitely, guys, at a very bearish crossroad. And for Bitcoin, it is because we are trading just below these key levels that we actually never really have seen that before. The 200-week moving average, for example, always was the bear market bottom low, and right now we're actually trading below it. We haven't got that close below. Who knows? We will get it. It looks like we're getting that. But it ain't that bullish. It ain't bullish at all. And now, guys, I'm going to show you a different chart which might be very, 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 very shocking. And that is this chart. I'm really curious if you can recognize this chart. Probably not, but you're looking at this chart quite often. This is the S&P 500 chart. This is the S&P 500 chart from 1978 all the way up to 2023. But the crazy thing is, we're not at all-time highs. We are not even close to the highs. The highs were right here in the year 2000. So what I've did with this chart is, this is the S&P 500 divided by the money supply. So the money supply is then this chart. We know that since 2019, when we had that big crisis, we actually that was the reason to put the money printer on. So we had a huge increase in the amount of circulating money, which is again very important to determine your purchasing power, to determine basically the value, the real value of Bitcoin, the real value of stocks. Because like I've said in previous videos as well, if right now the price of Bitcoin is $30,000 and tomorrow the dollar supply just doubles, your purchasing power is actually $15,000 for that Bitcoin, right? But in the numbers you still see 30,000. So it's actually an illusion. That's why it's good to have a look at these money supply, because that shows us, and that is, I think this is super mind blown, we never went higher than the dot-com crash. The dot-com crash was a major peak in the economy, and we never surpassed those highs again. Never. We never surpassed those highs. And the 2008 recession marked that low. Marked a very significant low. So this is very important to watch, guys. I think this shows us as well how we actually live in an illusion that the economy is doing quite good and stuff. It probably is not doing so good. So there are a couple of things that can happen right now, actually, that need to happen for Bitcoin and the regular financial markets to get a little bit out of this trouble, right? So we have another chart. We have the M2 supply, which right now, came down a little bit, slightly coming up. Right here, I can show you in the past couple of months, it went up, but it went up minuscule, right? We have another chart. This is the Federal Reserve total assets, right? The higher this chart goes, the more assets they're buying, the higher stock market goes, basically, because they're buying assets in the stock market. So we can see right here as well, in 2020, when we had that major crash, they bought, like in that recession, they bought a lot of assets. Why did they do that? Because if they didn't bought those assets, the whole stock market, everything, the house of cards would collapse. So they were forced to buy all that stuff up, right? And then they continued to buy a little bit until 2022, the top of the bull market in Bitcoin, the top of the stocks. And then we've entered that 2022 year, the Shemitah year, very bearish year. But the thing is, guys, this thing is still going down. So there are two options, I think. There are two options which both involve some more bearish price action. That's why I'm also very cautious with Bitcoin right now. And I've very shared this already on the private Telegram channel the moment this broke down. And we already made multiple videos on that. Very important. If you like to join, feel free to do so. But there are a couple of things that are possible. First of all, is the most uncommon scenario. That is that the money printer right now just goes on. Everything is being built out. The total assets are going up. And the stock market just continues its uptrend. Bitcoin continues to go up. And the housing market is not going to crash. That would be, for me personally, the most uncommon situation, because the Federal Reserve, similar like in 2019, they need a reason to print that money. They need like a crisis. Something needs to happen in order for them to have a reason to push the button on that printer, right? So that brings me to the following. The following possibility is that we are going to see in the next coming months, this year, a massive crash. A massive crash in Bitcoin, massive crash in the regular financial markets, due to maybe the story, like the narrative from China. China's economy is collapsing, America's money is in China, brings it down, house of cards, domino effect, you know the story. Like, this is how they how the narrative could look, right? Then once things are going down and reaching that extreme again in a big crash, that is the moment that they can start to increase the assets again, increase the money supply again, like they did in 2019. And once we get that confirmation, guys, the money supply goes on, these assets are going on, that is the moment that we are going to see bull market in Bitcoin again. And that is also the moment, guys, also the moment where we are going to see this chart breaking down. This is the stablecoin dominance. This chart will then break down. But as I also mentioned, guys, earlier, right now we are not breaking down yet. So for me personally, guys, the massive bull market or the massive events where liquidity go to Bitcoin is right. I'm now starting to see more and more evidence that that is now not the case in the shorter term time frame. Why? Let me go over it with you again. Bitcoin is just losing momentum. It's losing momentum on the macro scale. It's losing momentum on the micro scale. We are still early in the cycle, right? Early in a new 4-year cycle. So in the next coming years, I do expect Bitcoin to be bullish. But some things just need to happen, need to change in order for that to happen. Bitcoin, first of all, need to reclaim these macro levels. Very important. These ones basically just need to be reclaimed. That is very important. That is the 200-week moving average and the 21-weekly EMA. You see, like every time we trade below the orange line, we go down, we go down, we go down. And every time we trade above it, we have more confidence, right? The yellow line is even more important, the 200-week moving average. So these are the macro levels that I'm watching on Bitcoin. Then we are going to the stablecoin dominance. And guys, I have to say, this is not the scenario that I want to happen for Bitcoin. If you would give me an option, I would choose a different option. Right, but I also should not put an illusion or put my hands for my eyes so I cannot see what actually happens. I see here a falling wedge of the stablecoin dominance breaking out to the upside. That is already significant. I'm seeing Bitcoin trading below macro levels, macro moving averages. I'm seeing trouble in China with the property market. I'm seeing the assets of the Federal Reserve declining. I'm seeing the money supply also not increasing. So where is the liquidity going to come from to drive new highs in the stock market? I sound like a politician right now, but we need a new crisis. Guys, I sound like a politician right now, but we need a new crisis. And this is quite contradictory to what we are seeing with Bitcoin and our intention with Bitcoin, right? Because we are going into Bitcoin because Bitcoin helps us against that behavior from federal banks, Federal Reserve to print money, and then we can hedge in Bitcoin. But the problem is, if they don't print money, there is no environment for Bitcoin, which means that eventually the price for stocks and Bitcoin go down because investors tend to have a risk of behavior, right? When the money printer is on, the economy is going, there is a risk on incentive for investors. But when that's not happening, it's just not the case. So guys, I really changed my bias right here. As long as Bitcoin was trading above these moving average, I was very, very bullish on Bitcoin. I'm still bullish for the coming years. You know me, I'm super bullish. This adoption will just continue to go on. But shorter term time frame, I'm just going to be more cautious. A lot of charts right now are lining up not in the most bullish narrative. So I also don't want to be the guy. That's panicking at the bottom. Of course not. But I am going to be a bit more cautious. And if I lose a little bit Bitcoin by going slightly out of my position and go back once we reclaim those levels, so be it. At least when we reclaim, I have a higher certainty that I get my profits. So I have maybe I lose 1 to 2 to 3% of my portfolio if that scenario happens. But if that happens, I have a way higher probability of being profitable in the long run. And if Bitcoin does continue to plummet, I do have money on the side to buy more Bitcoin. So I just spent 1 to 3% of my portfolio to get the opportunity to get way more Bitcoin, while my risk is just losing a little bit. So if that makes sense from a risk point, I don't know. everyone has to make their own decisions. So guys, that's what I'm doing, and I'm sharing that with you. And yeah, if you like that, make sure to leave a thumbs up. If you want to hear more about this, if you like this macro analysis, also let me know in the comment section, guys. A lot of stuff is happening. This year will be still very interesting. The coming months, especially September, is going to be interesting because September is the most bearish month for stocks and for crypto. So September generally is like one of the most bearish months out there. So maybe it's also good to wait after September. What's the situation there? What's happening? Might be a good idea. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, guys, I want to thank you all for watching, and yeah, love you all very much. Be careful. Protect your capital, very important. Protect your gains, also very important. And I hope to see every single one of you in the next video.